welcome everyone. Please find a seat. We're about to get started. And again, please remember to keep any extra seats clear. We will, by the end of the day, be quite full in here, and really excited to have so many of you joining us. Today, if you're in the right place, you're at the Two Generations Together Institute. I'm Emily Dropkin, Director of Policy, Data, and Research at NHSA. And we've been working on this project for quite a while now, so we're really thrilled to see it realized with all of you here. To begin our program this morning is a woman who is familiar to all of you, and as is her commitment to children and families, our Executive Director, Yasmina Vinci.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're really thrilled to have you all here for the Two Generations Institute, and many of you have traveled really far. I just saw somebody from Honolulu. I see people from Colorado. It's really great. I often travel to see your programs and your communities, and one of the great joys of my work is running into shuttle drivers, business owners, teachers, foundation presidents in my travels who can't wait to tell me that they started in Head Start. The next two things they tell me are almost always the same. First, they remember their teachers. They remember the joy and the safety that was provided, often the snacks and the love of learning that they developed. And second, they tell me about their mothers. And you all see the transformation of families in the children, but you imagine how everything looks to a child. The children from Head Start saw their mothers earn degrees, get jobs, leave abusive relationships, take on their first leadership roles, and become their lifelong teachers, advocates, and guides. And so when they thank me for our work on behalf of Head Start, they really are thanking you for what you have done over the years. Those steps forward for families don't just happen. Since 1965, Head Start programs have always been deliberate in their two-generation approach. And then with what our economy looks like today, college education and advanced skills are really the best route to a living wage in many communities, and those are what our families need. And if they have the resources and income to support their children, we know that the future looks different for both generations. Programs across the country support parents' education and job training, and we'll hear about some of the recent findings on parents earning degrees with the support of Head Start this afternoon. But there are some programs that have put special focus on their work with parents, forming local partnerships and designing all sorts of models based on the resources and needs in their communities. Well, we could fill many days with learning from your innovations. Today we have 6 outstanding examples to learn from, and I hope that as you listen to them, you can think about what elements of their work you can bring home, and what stories your graduates will tell 10 or 20 or 50 years from now about their teachers and their mothers and fathers. So as we move forward toward reauthorization of Head Start in the coming years, it offers us the opportunity to reinvent ourselves anew and to recommit to what is most important and effective in our work. No other national program has accomplished what Head Start has with families, and finding ways to raise up and reinforce this part of our mission is absolutely critical. For all that we've done, there are millions more families who need a window of opportunity. So throughout this project, we have been thrilled to have the partnership and support of the Ascend at the Aspen Institute and to be involved in the Ascend network. Ascend is a hub for breakthrough ideas and collaborations that move children and their parents towards educational success and economic security, and they know, as you do, that we accomplish far more through shared commitment and work. We look forward to working with them and with you in the future to ensure the success of all our families. Ann Mosle is the Vice President at the Aspen Institute and Executive Director of Ascend at the Aspen Institute. She's a leading thinker, advocate, and voice in building pathways to opportunity for low-income families and women. With more than 20 years' experience in policy and philanthropy, Anne has been recognized nationally for her work. Prior to the Aspen Institute, Anne served as a vice president and officer at the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and as the president of the Washington Area Women's Foundation. Perhaps most importantly to us as a partner, Anne is the kind of person who believes in hearing from the people on the ground about what families truly need and want from two-generation programs. We appreciate her both for her thoughtful listening and for her determined advocacy for children and families who need an opportunity to move forward towards stability and success. And with that, I'm absolutely delighted to present Anne Mosle.
Good morning, everybody. I can't tell you how nice it was this weekend not to be the organizer of this conference watching the weather. All of the good energy was going to Emily and to Yasmina and to all of you on the travel. So thank you so much for making the trip to Washington and braving the weather. I have been looking forward to this day and tomorrow for quite a while, along with my team that's sitting over there, to really have a chance to be in conversation and listen with all of you. Because I think the most important conversation in this country is how are we building economic security, educational success, health and well-being for children and their families in the 21st century. I think it's profoundly important to think about the weight and the power and the positive energy of Head Start that started almost 50 years ago. You know, it was 50 years ago that President Johnson declared the war on poverty in partnership with Sergeant Shriver. And Head Start was probably one of the most successful visions and boldest visions at that time. Before I remind us a little bit about our history, I'm just going to try to talk briefly about kind of the power of where we've come from, where we are today, which is reflected with all of you in this room and all that you represent. Talk a little bit about how we are a partner with all of you, working with Yasmina and her team in the Head Start Association. What we're seeing about the two-generation approach, but really it's going to be listening at the panel next and beyond. And then we have an incredible, and you all have a collective opportunity for a call to action about telling your story and what you want it to look like in the next 5, 10, 50 years. So with that said, before I start, I just really want to recognize the expertise, passion, and dedication in this room. We have some of the best researchers. Two of my favorite ones are over there, Chris King and Lindsay Chase Lansdale, representing the best of child development and labor economist thinking, also as Aspen Fellows. Not only have they been working on the front edge of trying to think about this through the research lens, they also are working on two-generation initiatives back in their home. So not only when you hear them later with their colleagues, will you hear their academic expertise, but I also want to recognize their passion. For all of you in this room, from California to New York and everywhere in between, thank you for being here, North and South. We're delighted to have partnered with the National Head Start Association. Yasmina and Emily, as you all know, they're out there every day with you and for you. But we have been thrilled to partner with them. They have been partners both in outreach, respect for community, and also asking the probing questions. So we couldn't be more thrilled with the wonderful report that they've put together and the conversation it's going to allow us to have with all of you. So as we think about the conversation, I really, and there's a lot of politics. Hi, we're here in Washington. Everybody gets along all the time, just like back home. But I think we need to really remind ourselves that Head Start, when it came out of one of the most passionate and probably human elements of the, Buenos Dias, one of the most passionate, compelling parts about the war on poverty. It was then, launched formally in May of 1965 in the Rose Garden, Project Head Start. Originally going to be 25,000 families in an 8-week program, mushroomed to 500,000. There was something that just had an explosive vision. But it didn't just last through that presidential administration. President Nixon at that time carried it forward through the Health, Education, and Welfare Program. It then went on with President Carter, bringing in a bicultural and bilingual perspective. President Reagan increased funding up to $1 billion. President Clinton, for the first time, did the early Head Start grants. And then we look at here we are today. As Yasmina is trying to be very look over the edge, let's be prepared for reauthorization. We're serving 1 million children and their families, about $8 billion plus at stake. This is a very, very important conversation. Good news is the public is behind the work that you're doing. You're going to hear from Celinda Lake as your final keynote speaker, but we have worked with Celinda and a Republican pollster, so it's always bipartisan, to hear where the public is. And just two little highlights. Right now, 71% of the American population across political affiliation believes if you really want to help children, you need to work with parents too. This is a very important shift and a very important part of sort of the comparative advantage or contribution of Head Start. From the beginning, there's a lot of really good early childhood work out there, but you all were engaging with parents before it was all sort of in the conversation. We also, 84% of the American population think Head Start is one of the most important programs out there. So you'll hear more about this later, but I really just want to underscore the incredible history of Head Start that has transcended any kind of political affiliation across administrations. The public is a strong support. And so really, what is the conversation before us? So for us at Ascend at the Aspen Institute, I'm privileged to serve at the Aspen Institute, which has been around since 1949. The Institute was created in the aftermath of World War II to really step back in this country and say, what are the most critical issues? How are we addressing them? How are we bringing our values to the conversation? And how are we making sure we're hearing all perspectives, not just one? So fast forward today, I don't think there could be any more important conversation than breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Walter Isaacson, our CEO, you might have heard about a couple of his books he's written about Einstein to Stephen Jobs, is always pushing us to being on the cutting edge of innovation. And so for us, we have really been looking at, can we look at the interplay between if we are addressing the needs and the strengths of children, parents, the adults in their lives together, can we have better outcomes in terms of achieving economic security, economic educational success, and health and well-being? For us at the Institute, we do 3 things through the Ascend program. We are focused on leaders, solutions, and leveraging resources. We have a national network of leaders and organizations across this country that are looking for the breakthrough ideas and proven strategies that move children and parents and the adults in their lives forward together. You'll hear from many of them on the next panel. But we try to create a place for people to come together to share ideas, to package them, to move them forward, to ask the tough questions in safe settings. We have a national fellowship program that takes 20 leaders every 2 years to go deep on looking at the new ideas and solutions that can break the cycle of poverty. We hope by the end of this year that we will have a portfolio of solutions that one can apply at the local, state, and national level, whether you're on the front lines of delivery or thinking about policy, that can really lift families towards economic security. The work that you're all doing with the National Head Start Association is at the heart of those solutions. So we look forward to being a partner with you all and supporting how are you telling your story? How are you capturing your research? How are you moving your work forward for the 21st century and beyond? When we think about the 2-generation approach, I hope everybody had a chance to read the report that Yasmina and everybody put together, 2 Generations Together. It was a very well-designed report because it really laid out the models, highlighting obviously the best of how we're thinking about children, but how are we engaging parents and the community? 2 critical components to success. It also laid out what are the research questions and opportunities. It was very exciting. I kept thinking, ooh, the follow-up conversation we could have if we pulled together all of your research and evaluation partners to come together and share what you've been learning and help facilitate that kind of learning and then applying what you're learning more broadly. We know evaluation dollars are hard to come by, so how do we stretch them further and make learning more fun and faster and efficient? And then, of course, the age-old funding question. We're going to have a panel discussion about that tomorrow, but we really need to be thinking boldly about how can we think about what we can do differently if we weren't, if we were just to stop doing something, but start something new. Where do we have discretion? With discretionary dollars and programs like where there might be a partnership with TANF, for example, where's there some discretion? And then where do we need brand new funding and policies? And I sort of put that out there to help foster the conversation because I think we have all three avenues before us. So the next panel, which I'm just really excited to hear because the richness that we have coming up, which will include some voices and experience and leadership from California, Minnesota, Mississippi, Arizona, New York. Each of you are doing extraordinary work, and each of you reflect the diversity of the families and the communities that we're working in. And as we know, Head Start is very special in terms of the relationship from federal to community. And as we think about sort of a lot of opportunities with states, there's a lot of different block grant movements, that's all is out there. I think how to really tell the story about why this is so effective to go from federal to community and tell that well. So lastly, I see the road ahead as it couldn't be more important, and it couldn't be more relevant, and it couldn't be more ripe. This day, the 2 days you have before you and the work that you're doing consistently together, take the opportunity to help to start framing out what is the story that you want to tell. And tell it boldly and through the human lens and with the data. Reauthorization is a process. That's one hurdle, but this is really about defining what success looks like and how Head Start is at the center of that. And I push you to really think about what does it mean to operate in the 21st century? What does technology look like? What does collaboration look like? And what is your vision for what you want? As I always tell colleagues in my office as well as my own kids, never let someone tell your story for you. Don't give away the power and don't give away the accuracy. The Aspen Institute will be a partner side by side through this work with our Ascend Fellows, the research community, other foundations out there. We'll be hosting on May 13th and 14th a Head Start Innovations Leadership Forum to coincide with the 50-year actual anniversary of Project Head Start. We will invite the administration to be a part of that, as well as invite ourselves over to the Rose Garden, where they made the actual announcement. Why not? It'll be better weather. But that this is something that we also are seeing global interest in. And so as Yasmina said earlier, she talked about children, she talked about mothers. This is a conversation that is happening across the globe, both in developing and developed countries. You all are at the center, I think, of some of the cutting edge work. So with that, I thank you all for the work that you're doing. We look forward to partnering with you from the policy and practice standpoint. Because Ascend at the Aspen Institute, we're a policy effort at the Institute. For us to make good policy, you need three key ingredients. You need to engage the voices and experiences of families. You need to always be working for the best and next practice, and you have to have the best research. So putting that together is how you inform good policies. So we cannot do this work without you. We are partners in this, and there couldn't be a more important conversation than being involved with, then how are we really building that pathway to economic security, educational success, and health and well-being for children, parents, their whole families. It affects us all. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all once again. And as I know Anne gave a quick shout out to our report, and many of you, well, the vast majority of you have not been able to see it until today. It is in your folders. We hope you read it not during the presentations, but later. And before we move on, I want to just give you a quick overview of the structure of what we're going to do today. We'll begin this morning with presentations from each of our featured programs, moving geographically from east to west to spare those for whom it is still something like 5 or 6 in the morning. And in the afternoon, we'll have a series of panels on different aspects of two-generation works, both with some program voices and with some experts from research and other fields, including Anne, who'll be back with us later. It's our hope that as you listen today, you'll see bits of practical knowledge or new ideas that you can bring home. The beauty of our federal to local model is that each of you can design a program that best makes use of your local resources to meet the needs of your specific families. But this also means that you don't necessarily know what someone is doing off in Hawaii or off in New York. And across the various communities that make up our program. And so in today's conversations, we look forward to sharing some of those best practices from our featured programs and to being in conversation with all of you about what you've learned from the children and families and communities you serve. And just so you're aware, we are recording today's event for those who couldn't join us. So if you're in witness protection, we suggest avoiding the cameras. With that, join me in thanking Anne and Yasmina one more time, and we'll welcome up our first folks from New York. There are seats over here if you're just coming in. All right, so I'll keep the introductions short and sweet today, since I know you're all eager to hear from this amazing group of programs firsthand, but know that they all have many years of experience as Head Start leaders. For this morning's first presentation, I'm pleased to introduce Lynn Appelbaum. As Educational Alliance's Chief Program Officer since October 2006, Lynn is responsible for developing, overseeing, and enhancing the programs there, cultivating and promoting program integration and collaboration, and assessing and strengthening and operationalizing all their policies. Before coming to the Educational Alliance, Lynn was the Director of Policy at Family Justice, a national nonprofit in downtown Manhattan, and worked for more than 10 years at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, a 120-year-old settlement house in Manhattan's East Side. Throughout her career, Lynn has been dedicated to working in partnership to help people develop the skills to enhance their lives and their communities. Lynn, do you want to wave so they know which one you are? Lynn is joined today. Yes, Lynn is joined today by Karenne Berry, Vice President of Education for Educational Alliance. Karenne, I'm saying that right? Karenne? Okay. Karenne has more than 30 years of experience in education and family service and a deep knowledge of the importance of family engagement and early literacy. A board member of Duke University's American Association for Gifted Children, Karenne works closely with all the program's Head Start educators to develop their teaching talent and ensure children receive the highest quality care and educational experience. She's previously served as the Director of Literacy at Graham Windham, taught at several universities and Bank Street Graduate School of Education, managed quality enhancement in Durham County for North Carolina's Smart Start program, and served as the Executive Director of Durham Alliance for Childcare Access. She's also an adjunct professor at Long Island University Grad School of Education.
Which is closed this afternoon.
All right, and if you can both push the button at the bottom of your mic. You want to test that quickly for the folks in the back?
Good morning. I'm just going to talk about the snow all day.
All right. Yep.
Good morning. And Emily, thank you for
Absolutely.
that introduction, and thank you for organizing this. There are many advantages to being in New York. One of them this morning is getting to go first and getting to follow Anne and Yasmina, which is a real treat. Every time, that's different, isn't it? Every time I hear either of them talk, I smile and have an urge to stand up and do something. So that, I hope, is what will happen at the end of today for all of us. And I know that with the power in this room, there is much we can do together. Karenne and I wanted to do this presentation together because we like spending time together, but also because it demonstrates the cornerstone of Educational Alliance's two-generation work, which is that it is based on partnership. So we're going to do some page turning here, but what you see in front of you is an example of Educational Alliance. This is a poster from one of our family literacy classes, and for us embodies a lot about the work at Educational Alliance in that it's creative, it's welcoming, and as you see in the languages, it's very diverse. And so we hope you hear that in our talk now and the conversation throughout the day.
Okay. Good morning. I'm very excited to be here as well. I am alumni of the Educational Alliance, which has been around for a very long time. The Educational Alliance started over 125 years ago, about 126 now, right?
Well, it depends when you count, but we'll go with, we're going to stretch the 125th year as long as we can. So
Okay. Yeah, on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It began as a place for German Jewish community leaders who had done well in their whole country and wanted to help the flow of Eastern Europeans coming in to the community. They wanted to help them be good citizens and succeed in the new country. Okay, we started with education, included early childhood education, very long time ago. When we ran a public library, we were one of the first public libraries in New York City. We also had were known as the Breadwinners College, which turned into CUNY, the City of New York College Night Program. So we've been doing education for many years, and are very excited to continue it.
So we are, as a settlement house, could I just get everybody knows Head Start. Does the term settlement house have meaning to this room? So
To
yes
some
or no?
of us.
Okay, so the idea of a settlement house is that you are based in a neighborhood, 21st century language, that's a place-based organization, and that service providers will be living in the neighborhood and providing services for everyone in the community to help everyone in the community, the way we talk about it now, is lift up, right? So we are, at our core at Education Alliance, about providing opportunity. That whoever you are, when you enter our doors, we hope you are coming to learn something, to teach something, and to move up from wherever you are, whatever position that is. It could be what feels like a really good place going to a fabulous place, and it could be what feels like a really bad place getting to a stable place. But everybody's got, we recognize, the same basic human needs, and everybody's looking for opportunity, for the chance to learn, and the chance to contribute. And everybody, we believe that change happens when people learn from and with each other, rather than just when people come to a service provider who gives something to them. So in that understanding, at our core, education, most settlement houses, and there are many throughout the United States and England, their names are their street addresses or their neighborhoods. Education Alliance's name has always been Education Alliance, because we have always recognized that education is the key to opportunity. Your turn.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, so we made lots of notes because it's really hard to talk about what we do in 20 minutes, and we wanted to hit key points. We're going to go through our presentation, talk about our program, and leave some time at the end for questions and answers. Okay. The Education Alliance, one of the greatest things that are exciting to us is that we're in a very diverse community. It's a diverse community, very vibrant neighborhood, and it's diverse in terms of culture, diverse in terms of economics. So everyone looks different, but we all, again, are looking for the same things. In our neighborhood, we have low income living next to high income, mixed in with median income, and lots of different colors of people from all around the world. One of the key things that we like is that everyone lives together in the same community, and that everyone comes through our doors and learns together in the same community. It's a really exciting venture, and it's ongoing education, not just in terms of early childhood education or adult education, but learning about cultures and learning about the world.
So it's the Lower East Side where we are located, and where our building was built 125 years ago and recently renovated, is known to many of us as a neighborhood of immigrants, and it very much remains a neighborhood of immigrants. So it is also a neighborhood where, as Karen said, very diverse, fourth most diverse in New York City. So diverse in New York City is diverse everywhere. There are far too few people with college degrees and far too few people with high school degrees, even in a neighborhood that's economically diverse. Fewer than 40% of neighborhood residents have high school degrees, and that's something we're seeking to change. So we're seeking to change that in a neighborhood that is changing.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right, so that speaks to our the idea for our two-generation programming. We call our 2G program College Access and Success, and had a lot of conversation about what we would call it to fairly represent exactly what it was doing. College access and success, access for parents to a higher education, and success in whatever venue they were looking to be successful in. We came to that conclusion when we were renewing a proposal to Federal Head Start. We were looking at all of the Head Start standards and recognizing that one of the things was that Head Start wants each and every parent to have at least a high school education. We came to that conclusion when we were looking at who was coming back to us. We had some very excited families who were coming back to the Education Alliance saying, I was in Head Start, and now my child is in Head Start, and they were really excited to be in Head Start, to have generations of folks come into the Alliance. Well, in looking at that piece, we realized that with them coming back and forth, that we kind of missed, because if they started in Head Start, which we all know, you have to be within a certain economic level, and then they were coming back as parents to Head Start in that same economic level, then essentially we didn't do what we were supposed to do, and that is truly give them a head start, give them a head start in life. So we started talking to different community members and got our board very involved, and started talking about what we could do. Well, we had for about 7 years a very, very successful college access program for our teens, where 100% of the kids that participated in the program got into school, and that idea sparked and generated our College Access and Success program.
So it's about 300 of our teens have now gone to college, and 91% of them have either graduated or remain in college. So that's 7 years in, so almost at the second graduating class. Here's our very basic concept, but one we get very excited about for our 2G work. When you come to Education Alliance as a pregnant mom or as a parent seeking to enroll your child in early Head Start or Head Start, and we have about 600 kids, our commitment to you is that we will stay with you and your child until each of you graduates from college. And that's how we believe we're going to transform the lives of those families and transform the lives of the community. So we've been avoiding reading what it says on the slides, but here's one of the, all right. Thank you. So the vision of Education Alliance is to help families achieve economic self-sufficiency by making a college education available and achievable for low-income adults and their children. So here's a little about how we're doing that and why. Why first, apparently.
Okay, because based on the, oh, this is so small. Yeah.
Want my mic?
Can you hear me? Is this clear? Okay, all right. Yeah, based on the research at our 2 generation program, we see just the examples that are presented above on the slide. Education and income are very closely intertwined. Okay, college graduates earn over 60% more than those that are in high school. Okay, only 10% of those with a bachelor's degree are poor, compared to 30% of those with a high school diploma. Increasingly, higher education is necessary for many jobs. As we realize, if you go back 20, 30 years ago, a high school diploma may have allowed you to get in a job where you were making living wages, and now we know that the college diplomas are replacing those jobs.
So we have, as you all do, we have the platform of great early childhood and the trust and respect of families and the wraparound services, and strong results and teaching strategies goal backs that up in children's readiness for school and children's learning. We went ahead and got a great adult education partner in Borough Manhattan Community College, which is part of the City University of New York. And that's how we form the foundation for that work. So I think we can keep going.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, this is how we're working. When a pregnant mother arrives at the Education Alliance to enroll in our early Head Start program, or mom into Head Start, our goal is, again, is to stay with them until the child and parent have graduated. Our agency has done that by, you say, how do you keep doing Head Start when the child is older? We've developed an education pipeline okay, where all of our services are merged together. The children come in to the Education Alliance in the early childhood programs, hopefully, but we have school-age programs where we're working with elementary school children. Then we have a cohort of middle school children that we work with in high school, and after they go off to college, we stay engaged with them until they've graduated and are our alumni, and we expect them to come back and volunteer and work with the students as well.
So we take an interdisciplinary approach to our work. The woman you see here is our first college graduate. That's her son, who is now 8 and in one of our after-school programs. So the 2G participation for us is as long as both a parent and a child are engaged in education offered by or through Education Alliance, we consider that two-generation participation.
Yeah, we have many families that have multiple children that are in different phases of the Education Alliance pipeline right now. Okay, changes these changes we see in the children. In the last completed academic year of our 2G program, the program served 53% of Head Start and early Head Start families. We're really excited about this because this is totally volunteer, and we have more than half of our families that are engaged in and successfully moving through the program. Okay, in year 1, we had 129 unduplicated families. In year 2, we had 215. Okay, in year 3, we had 267 unduplicated families, and we currently have 300, and we are, of course, looking for additional funding because we're kind of maxing out of what we could provide in terms of quality service to these families. Year 1, we had parents enrolled in college. To date, we have 37 parents actually in college, and we've had 3 graduate over the last couple of years. Yep.
That's one more than I knew about on Friday.
Okay.
So we knew from the start, as I said, that you can only be great at so many things, right? Part of making change is recognizing where you can contribute and where you need help. So we knew we had a fabulous staff of early childhood education teachers and family advocates, family workers, but we were not adult education experts, and so we reached out for that. We also reached out, as I'll have a chance to talk about more this morning, to an evaluation, later this afternoon, sorry, to an evaluation partner. But I really want to stress that it's not that we refer families to the Borough of Manhattan Community College. They are absolutely our partners. They are based at Education Alliance. So parents and children are coming to school together. They're just going to classrooms on different floors. The BMCC instructors have office space in our renovated building, and they are very much part of the team. And they have found funding to support their staff doing ESOL classes for families, as well as supporting families when they make the move to enroll in college.
Yeah, and actually this is a picture of, that was a
there. Oh, look.
Yeah, this is a picture of a group of our parents who were enrolling, and we take them to the college to visit and enroll. We do everything with them so that the transition is a comfortable phase. As we know that certain people, college and going somewhere else out of the community is a challenge. So we support them every step of the way and really encourage them to do things in groups. Okay. All right, so our program components are quality early childhood education environment, okay, wraparound social services, which you Head Start folks are all very familiar with, okay. We have mental health component, which we're really excited. We've got close to $500,000 in funding to support our mental health programs. Okay. We have family literacy, where the parent and the child come together twice a month in groups to do literacy activities, and we are also privately funded to give the parents materials to take home so that to make their homes more literacy rich and so that they can continue developmentally appropriate practices. We have our adult education. We have 4 levels of ESOL. Okay, we do the GED, well, high school, which is now the high school equivalency. When we started, it was GED as well. Okay, and then we have college. We do college prep courses, and then the students actually enrolling. We've added financial education classes, which were funded by CFR, Community Finance Resources, and they work with us to design a curriculum that is very supportive to our families, and they trained all of our family advocates so that they can support the families once they've completed the course.
So a little about how we're funding this. The JP Morgan Chase Foundation was our founding funder and allowed us to bring on a staff member who would oversee the 2-generation work. But I also want to recognize that Head Start, Federal Head Start, we're a Federal Head Start provider, is already making 2-generation work a reality because they've provided the core infrastructure of teachers and social service staff who are doing this work. Lower Manhattan Development Corporation is a city initiative that was about rebuilding New York after 9/11 and recognized this approach as economic development in New York. And then the City University of New York gets state education department funds that they've allocated to our families, and we're also very proud to be one of 4 programs selected for a demonstration project funded by the Annie Casey Foundation. So that's where the money comes from. It's a combination of public and private dollars, as well as the Parent-Child Home Program also provides some funding. But I think the rallying cry is to both the public and private funders that this is a very worthwhile investment. It's about an additional sort of 2% of our budget gets us 300 parents in adult education, but that funding needs to be sustained.
Okay. All right. So in terms of strategic experimentation and a work in progress, you can see that we've always viewed this as an ambitious and strategic experiment. Okay, we've had a task force that meets 3 to 4 times a year to guide and monitor program development. This includes some of our funders, our board members, partners. We have parents on there as well. It's expanded the program, and it's provided like invaluable wisdom to help ensure that the integrity of the model. Our other key partner, in addition to Borough Manhattan Community College, is NYU Steinhardt School of Culture, and the Steinhardt School of Culture has worked very hard to enter in the evaluation. We wanted an objective assessment of whether or not the program was working. So thanks to a board member, we were introduced to someone at the NYU Steinhardt School, and they convinced us that it wasn't the time to start doing an impact evaluation. So we started with a formative evaluation to see what best would make this program most successful.
So I'll get to talk about that a little more this afternoon, but very quickly, that meant the first year was talking about what the program is. The second year was improving the program. And then in the current year, they're looking at the context of our 2-generation work as a program that is place-based, which is different than many others, and a program that serves a largely, but not only, immigrant population, and helping us work with the City Department of Education so that we can track educational outcomes for children as they progress through the school system.
Okay, some of the results from NYU was that participants were overwhelmingly positive about the program, and they felt it was a grave need in the community. They unanimously agreed that staff were very supportive, and they found the co-location of classes for the children and the parents really, really exciting. We got some great news coverage, which we can post. Our clips are posted on our website. The partnership between BMCC and the Educational Alliance is central to the success of the program in a very in a very good way to meet the targeted population. The data suggests that as a result of the program, even participants in the early stages of their education are engaging in behaviors that may impact the children's educational success. We did some surveys and they interviewed some about families, and they said that they were reading more to their children. They felt more secure about helping their children with their homework and other educational things, even speaking to child's teachers on their behalf.
So as the program's grown, we've worked to integrate the two-generation approach among the staff, right? So among things we've done is we've revised the job descriptions of all the family workers. They're now known as family advocates. There's now part of their job description to work with parents, to help parents understand how their educational goals can be reflected in their children's learning and in their family's economic success. And we have expanded the range of ESOL classes that we were offering, because while we have parents who are college ready, we also have parents who are very recent immigrants from China, and so we are now offering ESOL level 0 through 4. When we started, it was 1 through 3. We've added a college, I'm sorry, Karen, we've added a college advisor who is helping the families who are ready for college, and that's allowed us to deepen the program and broaden its reach.
Yeah, where we are located is right on the border of Chinatown. Okay, so therefore we have a very large Chinese population. But being the Lower East Side, we have a lot of other immigrant populations as well. When we first started out, the majority of the program were the Chinese immigrants, and being very progressive about taking advantage for education. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So just to close up, and now at the 4-minute mark, just a few recommendations that we keep. It's helpful to say them to you because we need to remember them ourselves, and I will talk more about the first one this afternoon, which is start with a formative evaluation, plan for the specific needs of families. We're all serving large numbers of families, or many of us are, and while we may have the same long-term goal for those families, their paths to get there may be different, and it's important to remember that, and remember, as we all do, to start where the family is, not where we're hoping the families will be. So we want to balance those short and long-term outcomes. Focus on supporting parents' persistence in their education, which means having a plan for what you're going to do about your own schooling when child number 2 is homesick. Have plan B and C for that. And finally, to invest in some sort of, and this can also be another rallying cry, to invest in a database that allows us, you, all of us together, to track what is happening both with parents and children, and to connect that information so that together that we can show that two-generation approaches are having both short and long-term benefits for children and families. That was the end.
Yeah. We don't actually have time for questions.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, we have. The question was, have we found a database that'll do that? We're using Promise and the Promise database, and they've actually tailored to include certain fields that we would need in order to measure how the parents' work was impacting the child outcomes. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
How you, I guess how everybody in the program deals with parents more of coming together in the classroom, in the program, and not just specifically for this project.
Yes, it absolutely has. We've been doing a lot of social capital events with the parents. Yeah, our policy council is a very active and strong policy council. I am so pleased with them, and we do have a huge community input on the policy council, and so the parents together have started planning like social capital events so that families who are engaged in different things in life can connect. The last one we had like colored stickers in terms of what you were doing, if you were a student, if you were interested in this specific field, and so folks come together and connect and then support each other. From that, we are forming like focus groups for families to meet and continue helping each other along the road.
I would say another unanticipated benefit, byproduct, is we have a lot of staff who don't yet, throughout the organization, right? We do much more than education, and we've had a lot of staff start to come forward to the college advisor and say, I don't have a college degree yet.
Yes.
Can you help me do that? So we have staff completing college degrees too.
Right.
All right, wonderful.
All right. Thank you.